I think I provided Lisa with a copy of the creative brief that we actually use and what that means. And it's an integral part because essentially we take that form and we fill it out, and then we're giving it over to the creative team. And then, there's, on there it says, okay, if you say in one sentence really what we're supposed to do with this. Is it a product? Is it a service? What is the final result that we have to achieve with this creative brief? And, that's pretty hard. And I challenge you that when you all are filling out these creative briefs, that you think when it comes down to the very end, what do you want the end result to be? Are they to go to a website? Do you want them to go to a specific store? Do you want them to call? Do you want them to click on a QR code? What do you want them to do? And ultimately, you want to sell something. Isn't that true? I mean, when it's all said and done, and it's really fun because creative, we always want it to look good, but if it doesn't sell, then we haven't done our job. Because ultimately, that's what we're doing, is we're going to create more sales for our customers. We've been working for PALS since 1992. They're one of our oldest clients. And we love working with PALS because they're very much, they're not the norm. They're not McDonald's. They're not Hardee's. They're not Burger King. They're a cult brand. And many of you that have been at ETSU for a while, if you go back home, you're like, oh, I wish I had PALS at home, but you don't. They're like, oh, you get PALS. I was like, yeah, maybe. So people miss PALS, and why? Why do people here like PALS? Why do you like them? Why do you like them?
They're original.
Original, why do you like them?
They're good and they're quick.
They're quick, why do you like them?
I like the french fries.
Why do you like them?
They're fresh.
They're fresh, why do you like them?
They cut the frills.
Got the frills, okay, why do you like them?
People are nice.
People are not, why do you like them?
French fries and service.
French fries, why do you like them?
French fries.
French fries.
French fries are right there too.
Okay, why do you like them?
French fries.
French fries, why do you like them?
I don't know. Who are you asking?
You?
Oh, I've only eaten there once because I'm not really a fast food person. But it's good. Like, I love the French fries are great. Like, it's just,
Okay, I understand. Why do you like them?
atmosphere is awesome.
Atmosphere, okay, why do you like them?
Good.
They're just good. Okay, see, so now see, if we took all of that and put it in a creative brief and say, okay, when we talk to people, PALS is just good, but the challenge that we have, that Will has as our creative director, is they don't change the menu very much, do they? And that's why that they're fast, that's why it's fresh, that's why it's good, that's why it's no frills, and it's value, it's got value, doesn't it? I mean, So we have to come up with more creative ways on how to sell some product. So I'm gonna turn it over to Will, and he's gonna, you wanna show the spot first and then talk about it?
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and show it.
Yeah, you're gonna love this.
We kind of rough cut of what we did last week. So you're like some of the first people to see this.
Yeah, so you gotta keep it buttoned up. It'll be out in about 2 weeks.
So I'll just go ahead and show it to you. We can talk about it, you can ask questions and stuff like that. This is a spot for cheddar rounds. Have you done one cheddar rounds before?
Everybody had cheddar rounds?
They're gonna make them all day.
No.
Let's not go too far now.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and watch it. We can talk about it a little bit.
It's so cool.
Well, where'd you think they came from?
Flavor that's out of this
Well,
world.
voiceover is also the whole thing about is enjoyment. I mean, all you guys are just like, oh, I love this, I love this. That's what PALS is all about. It's about keeping things simple, but the enjoyment and a little bit of quirkiness. Obviously, you know that a 12-foot hot dog on their building is going to be okay with doing something like that. So really, it's just about telling a story that anybody can find somewhat enjoyable or interesting or something like that. And also shows the product in a good light and something that keeps in your top of mind as far as wanting something to eat. Unfortunately, no, you can't have them after breakfast, so that would be great. We'll say that, but no, it's not. We shot that in Nashville, kind of in a little farm near downtown where they shoot a lot of music videos. Red Bear, the DP for that, actually had 3 spots on the Super Bowl this year. So he's pretty in demand, he's a friend of mine, and so a lot of talent there in Nashville at the Girl and everything like that. we trucked everything down there as far as product, and there's actually half of a, did you guys see?
We
that?
saw the meter in the back.
So we're thinking about using that somehow too, in a social application or something silly to go along with it. We're gonna kind of tease a little bit, maybe on radio or Pandora or something like that, get people like what's going on with this, some kind of message, you know, and we'll show that as well. But there's some really great billboards that are gonna be up too, you know, that kind of go along with this whole campaign. Any questions? We shot some other stuff too, but that's so far what we got done, because we have the deadlines for that.
So you have to think about when you're doing creative briefs and what, you know, the end result is, you know, what kind of media are we gonna use for this? You know, some budgets are smaller, and so we're saying, hey, you know what, we're only gonna be able to run web banners. So what does that mean? Well, we have to have it, you know, the message on a web banner, you're talking about a 300 by 250 or a 728 by 90, it has to be a compelling message enough to where people are going to want to click on it, which will obviously push them to your client's website. So, you know, when we fill out those creative briefs, as an account executive, you know, we're responsible for telling the creatives, okay, so as a campaign, as this one that we showed you with PALS, we have outdoor, we have radio, we have Facebook, we have web banners, we're using Pandora, we're using local radio, and was there one more thing? Oh, well, we use some table tents and things like that. And, oh, by the way, if you've never ordered cheddar rounds with fry salt on them, oh, it's to die for. So, just so you know that you can get them that way. But, so it's all of those things that are key elements that are important, but you also, in a creative brief, have to provide what your client's point of difference is from the competitor. So, this is really easy. So, what's PAL's point of difference on cheddar rounds from the competitor? What is it?
It's exclusive.
That's right. Nobody else in town has cheddar rounds. So we can say, hey, we're the only place. Burger King did try to come up with a cheddar round product, but it was not successful. And so that's why, I mean, you were saying, please serve them all day, please serve them all day, and what we wouldn't give to be able to serve them all day, but because PALS is small, their space is confined, and they only have so much fryer space to do the french fries that obviously you all love. So, you know, do you have questions, additional questions about, you know, how a creative brief works? How, you know, let's ask some questions. We've got about 10 minutes because I want to, you know, cover some questions. Y'all have questions?
What is the weight on like your competitor as opposed to the brand image itself? Does it have to do with, I mean, I would imagine it's conditional on what they want. Does that make sense with the wrestling? How much do you target after the competitors as opposed to just working on?
I think in the creative brief, you know, there's a section about the competition. And account people are to be the experts on not only the, you know, an actual customer, but the whole landscape of who the competition is, what they do well, what the challenges are for the customer that we service. So basically, we would put that in there, you know, like what are some of the challenges maybe that someone else does better. You know, we need to watch out for, or this could trip us up or something like that, you know. So as an account person, you would always have the customers, you know, you're kind of protecting them, making sure all that's going to be good, and that you know what everybody else is doing, so that there isn't any surprises or it's the wrong strategy or something like that, you know. So it's very important
To understand the market.
Right.
to understand the market.
And so, you know, we talked about the point of difference, we talked about the competitor, but we also have to have a promise. So what is PAL's promise? What do you think PAL's promise is?
Sudden service and consistency among all locations.
Right? What else? Quality, yeah. Because we can do it better than anybody else. A car in PAL's line will move on an average of every 18 seconds. Even though you see that line at ETSU and it's backed all the way around, almost to the yield sign on the other side, you know, I challenge you to time it at about every 18 seconds that car's going to move. So, you know, PAL's promises are going to provide you with a good quality product, exceptional service, great value. We are not allowed, as their agency, we are not allowed to, they don't combo, they don't advertise price, and we don't do kids' meals. How's that?
You don't discount, you don't discount.
Yeah, we don't advertise price.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not allowed to do any of those things. And so again, it goes back to being creative. So you have your promise, And so that's really important because that's a message that's gonna come through the creative. You know, we try to keep the copy down because nowadays people, you know, they're taking in all this media, all these messages. I think you're subjected to like 3,000 messages or 5,000 messages a day, whether you believe it or not. Whether it's the ETSU logo on your sweatshirt, whether it's, you know, if you've got a Nike swoosh on your shirt, or you're wearing some kind of, you know, you're wearing UGG boots and you see the little tag on the back, that is some type of a message that you're seeing, and whether you believe it or not. And so when you're surrounded by all that, you have to kick through the clutter to be different. When people watch this spot, they're definitely going to go, wow, that was different. Because you weren't expecting the end, were you? If you hadn't known that it was about cheddar rounds, you'd be going, holy cow, it's some sci-fi thing that they're promoting for, you know, FX or something like that, right? And then it's like, surprise, it's pals. So, you know, we do like to pull that in, but the most important thing is that we want to show the product early. We don't want to, you know, be, you know, kind of get all the way through the commercial and then you're like, oh, and then you only get like 5 seconds of a 30-second commercial talking about the product. So what else do you want to know about the creative process? Yes?
How often do you have like a wonderful idea and you were saying about being different, and how often does the client not want to be different but rather just stay the same, kind of archaic with their message?
I mean, it varies from client to client.
Okay.
Second customers, you know, like Coca-Cola, they have, you know, 3, 4 levels of approval process and legal, whatever, that you have to go through. Sometimes it is difficult, you know, to get a good idea through this a little bit outside the norm. But I mean, we deal with a lot of like family-owned companies. They're big companies, but usually you have kind of direct communication, you know, with the leadership and things like that. And that makes things a lot easier. Not to say they're always going to go for, you know, this idea. And, you know, the customer, they've been doing what they do all their life, and they're good at it, you know, especially as a family-owned company. So they sometimes know things that even if your idea is like amazing, maybe it's not really appropriate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a good working relationship with them, you know, you learn what is good and what's not for them, and then you'll have less times that you will not, you know, present something that's inappropriate for that brand, or it's not going to help them or something like that.
I say that because like around here it seems like the, I don't know, marketing, advertising, communications, any of it seems like it hasn't progressed past like 1983 or something with the
It's not a big market.
the local car commercials.
Yeah, well, you can go to LA and see the same car commercials.
Really?
The production value is just better, but they say the same
They
thing.
say the same thing?
Yeah, so yes, car dealerships are actually, they have a hard time getting outside of that bubble of this is what we're comfortable with.
Because they feel like that if as people continue to come in, we're still selling cars, so they think, wow, that commercial worked. You know?
It works.
I mean, when I was a kid, and I'm from Alaska, there was a guy, his name was Cal Worthington, and he actually had some dealerships in California. And he said, Cal Worthington, I'll stand on my head to sell you a car. And they would show him standing on his head, and he actually thought that people were going to come in to Cal Worthington just because he stood on his head. And they thought they were going to sell a car.
If he didn't do that, people would never buy a new car,
See?
obviously, because they
But people still came whether they saw the commercial or not, and so they automatically think that it works. Like,
We're putting your kids in it. I'm sorry, we're getting off on tangent.
yeah. So, I mean, what's another question that you have about the creative process and how? Yes.
Like coming up for that idea, was that something that was purely you all, or did they have like any sort of concept going into it, or how does that usually work?
And then it goes back to, you know, clients are different. Sometimes they have ideas, or they just have something they want to say. You know, this one, PALS, is they are process oriented. They do fast food. They allow us to be the agency. It's like you show us what we should do. A lot of times that works out really well, and obviously that's more enjoyable for us, you know, as creatives, because you get to totally own whatever it is.
How do you come up with those ideas? Do you do it in like a brainstorming session with a team, or is
There is
it?
no real, set way to do it, I would say. A lot of time, yes, that is what happens. But it could be something that, you're at a concert or something, and something weird happens. You know, that's what I always tell people. It's like, I think a lot of people are obsessed with, reading ad week or following some agency or something like that. But really what makes you creative is just life, is getting out there, taking a drive across the country, having nowhere to go. but just meeting new people, having new experiences and things like that. Because, I mean, you can read all you want or obsess over this or that, you know, to be as cool as somebody else, but unless you live it and really, you know, see stuff for yourself, you won't be able to come up with those ideas yourself, you know. Because what happens is you remember all these things that happened to you, and whenever, you know, something like this presents itself, you'll remember, oh, I remember that time when I almost got hit by a meteor. No, I mean, that didn't happen, but it, you know, you'll use whatever you found in life, you know, and be able to tell that story, even if it's a little bit different than whatever actually happened, you know. But you have that inspiration.
But the tagline, you know, the past Shadowruns, they're out of this world, aren't they? And that's kind of where it started. And you'll see some yard signs when you go through PALS, it'll say, the billboards are gonna say Shadowruns on them. But the reality is they are truly out of this world. You can't replicate them anywhere. And that they're, you know, they're so good. And so, you know, and we describe them as cheesy potatoes of great golden goodness or something like that. So you can't really replicate that anywhere.
And I think specifically for this one, just to go back to what I said, I think my son and I stayed up waiting for this meteor shower to happen, but never did. It's like we saw one thing or something like that. You know, but I remember that time spent with them, and we were waiting for this meteor shower and everything. I think that kind of made an impression, or maybe I remember that, you know. So a lot of times you think that, oh, well, there's only some people that, you know, can come up with this stuff or whatever. It's not true. I mean, you just have to, you know, step back and see what's happened to you, because everybody's got their own, you know, story to tell. And I'm sure there's something that you can pull out to use in something sometime.
And collaboration is great, bouncing ideas. You know, we throw a lot of ideas up on the whiteboard. We'll talk, we'll laugh, we'll joke. And it's not, and I'll be honest, sometimes we hit the mark and the clients love it, and sometimes they're like, no, this isn't what, this is not right. We need to go back to the drawing board. And usually what will happen is that, you know, with a little bit more thought, we'll come up with an idea that is perfect for that product or service that we need. And sometimes you really need some client input, and we collaborating with them, sometimes we will come up with an idea. And again, it's all about sales. You know, and we didn't get to talk a whole lot about Texas Pete, but what we do for Texas Pete is not on the retail side, it's on the food service side, which is if you're going to a restaurant and you know, it's Texas Pete sitting on the table, or at the university, or a hospital, or a prison, or anything like that. I mean, we're marketing to those people who are buying for them. And so what we did is they took Texas Pete and made it food service sexy. And made it so it's not so stale, because the people that are buying it are consumers in retail too. So why shouldn't they enjoy it, and it should be just a really stale looking ad? You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, okay, let's make it different. So when y'all leave, there's some posters that are out here along the right-hand side of the wall that shows a gal putting lipstick on, and it's like Texas Pete. And then there's this guy with this really
Did you
sexy.
say a guy? But it was a guy.
Did I? I thought I said a gal.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, so there is there's a guy sitting on a stool at the burger bar, what was formerly the burger bar in Bristol, and he's like, Texas Pete's kind of a cult brand, a lot like Pal's, and he has this. They ripped out the pocket of his jeans because he eats Texas Pete on everything. You know, and we have people that keep bottles of Texas Pete in their car because they want to eat it all the time. They eat it on their eggs, they eat it on their French fries, they eat it on their hamburgers, whatever they're eating, they want Texas Pete on there. So what does that mean? Yeah, that kind of goes down to a retail, but that means when they go to a restaurant and they don't have Texas Pete, well, they can go out to their car and get it themselves. You know? So we're at past time, so any other closing remarks, anything else you want to know?
Research.
Oh gosh, research. You know, digging into the competitor, looking at trends, looking at, you know, opportunities for us to find our point of difference from the competitor. So yeah, we do drill down a lot on the research element. And the account executives and the art directors, they get in and they do a lot of research about type, color. You know, when Drew was talking about color and things like that, typefaces, what does it mean? You know, how do these color palettes work together? So yeah, so research is really, really important.
In pop culture research, I mean, always keep up in anything, any new trend, watch lots of movies, TV, I know it's kind of silly, quite anyway, but you know, get a Tumblr page and just follow all the artists and all the new stuff and all the funny things that come out. You can always go back to that for inspiration, you know, or something on Pinterest or something, you know, to always keep the newest things going. Because that's how you're going to communicate, you know, with people. Because it always starts with the younger people and kind of trickles down or up or whichever way, you know. So not only the details of the customer, you know, or the client, I should say, but those will be buying the product and always stay up on anything that's happening and what they feel is important.
We thank you.
Well,
I'm
you're
sorry
welcome.
for such a brief visit,
Well,
but you've,
that's okay.
you've
Yeah, had a great
squeezed a
time.
lot in there.
I know, I will. So, you know, y'all, you know, dive in, be a student of the game. Okay? Don't just be a participant. You know, and that's about life too. Don't just be a participant in life, embrace it. You know, be all you can be inside of this great industry that we work in, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress and it's hard work. But I promise you that if you'll be a student of the game, have that energy that it takes to make a difference, you'll enjoy your life a whole lot more, and you'll be a lot happier too. So, thanks for coming.
And don't ever allow the fact that you're not doing work for a big company at some time
Oh, yeah.
sway you from doing good work. I mean, I have friends who advertise flyers for a varsity competition and got into one show. So if your uncle owns a plumbing business or something like that, do good work for them too.
Okay.
You know, look for inspiration.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
See ya. Skittles are